check, 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 check. Yay! How's it going, everyone? Nice to see all of you. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to change my levels a little bit. So we are currently at... Ooh, whoops. What's happening? Great. Cool. Check. There we go. Cool. So we're currently at 343 Labs YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/343labs. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Greetings to a couple of folks who are joining us as regulars. TWD, how's it going? Hello also to Juan, who's saying hi from Argentina. Latino Sofrito, hello as well. Welcome everybody to this stream. And this is a crazy week for us at 343 Labs. Thomas from 343 Labs is back with us managing the chat. Thanks, Thomas. And this entire week, we're really excited to be doing a lot of programming for kids. Specifically, our summer program just started today, so Thomas and I just came from that. And on the note of just summer programming, if you do want to check out a bunch of things that we're doing over here at 343 Labs, you can head over to our website. That's going to be 343labs.com. So in addition to the streams, it's like today we're doing the classes and then we're going to be doing it for the next few weeks. Tons of things happening. And also I was telling a couple of folks this in another stream on another platform, but I have a new monitor. So now I can finally see two things at once. That's amazing. It's like, wow, new monitor, two monitor life finally. Finally managed to save up enough for it before getting one. So yay! Greetings to everyone who's tuning in. Really appreciate all of you as well. I'm just going to adjust a couple of my levels over here to make sure I can hear myself over here. And oh my goodness, hi Tal. Nice to see you over here. I'm saying hi to a bunch of different kinds of people. But yes, we are here. And we're doing some things today in tips and tricks that I think you might have heard just now in the beginning song, if you were hearing that. That tune that you just heard was a flip that I did, and I use the term flip to refer to like a cover / remix in a way. A flip that I did that was live, that was a flip of Skylark. So I don't know if there are any other jazz fans out there, but Skylark is one of my favorite jazz standards. It's one of the first tunes that I learned to play in the jazz idiom. And there's a beautiful version by Ella Fitzgerald, amongst many other really nice versions too, but I kind of got inspired to flip it. It was originally written by Hoagie Carmichael and Johnny Mercer, but I kind of took it and I did like a version of it. If you check it out on the 343 Labs YouTube channel, there is a version of me doing a breakdown of that performance, but I kind of wanted to dive a little bit in and show you specifically more in detail about how I would go about setting up some live looping stuff. So this is a little bit more on the performative side of things, and specifically I wanted to talk about live audio looping, which is a little bit different from MIDI looping. If you've seen me do any session with Ableton Live or with Push, then you'll know that looping is a big part of my usual workflow, and then I use it often to, create different units of music and layer things together. That's really the premise of looping. It's creating these little blocks or little clips in live, if you will, and figuring out different combinations of them to put together. Oh, hello to Delirium, and also hi to Nathan. Hi, Nathan. I love the dancing emojis. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're keeping safe in this crazy time. It's all a little crazy. But here we are in live, and I've got Push with me as usual. It's over here. It's not going to play a super huge part today, or it might, depending on how things go. So I'm going to maybe change my camera angle a little bit so that you can see more of Push, but here it is. For anyone who's joining in for the first time, welcome. 343 Labs is a school that's based in Manhattan, and we're usually very on top of it with our in-person classes, except when we're in quarantine. So now we're doing a lot of online stuff. We have a lot of online summer intensives coming up as well. But we are an Ableton Certified Training Center, and I'm one of a couple of Ableton Certified trainers who teach at 343. And I'd like to show you today a little bit of looping stuff with Push, which is the hardware. So Push is the hardware. Live is the software created by the company called Ableton. Anytime that you hear me use the word live in the streams, I am using the proper terminology to refer to it. People often misnomer it as Ableton, but Ableton's really the company and Live is the software. Well, let's start off doing some looping. So I do ultimately want to do audio looping, like I said, but maybe I'd just like to reiterate a couple of the premises and the bases of looping through doing some MIDI looping. So Live is really good at picking up two kinds of signals that producers use to communicate with our software to make music: MIDI and audio. MIDI is a little bit like a language in that it's the producer giving signals or notes to a piece of software, and the software is kind of interpreting that and giving us a specific sound. So it could be a drum sound, it could be a bass sound, could be a synth sound, versus audio is really what you might pick up from a microphone. So anytime you see a microphone in like a real live context, maybe you're at you were at a show. Now you shouldn't be at a show. But if you were at a live show and you see someone with a mic that looks just like this, that's picking up audio, and it's in turn going to be a different type of signal compared to MIDI. We can't change it as much as we can with MIDI, but we can still manipulate it in some pretty interesting ways. So that's what we're going to do a little bit of today. But let's do a bit of a looping recap in general, and specifically looping in live in session view. So over here, and whoops, I just bumped my knee and everything shook. But what I like to start off with is maybe looping some drums off the bat. So let's head over here to Push. And let's add a device to this empty MIDI track. Right now it's empty, so when I press on Push, I'm seeing a couple of things light up on Push, but I'm not hearing any sound, and that's normal. You need to first add an instrument to a MIDI track if you ever want to hear anything played. Ooh, hi, greetings to a couple of returners. Hi, Liso. Hi, Scott. Hi, Nefertiti. Oh, thank you so much for the kind words, Scott. And just to put us all on the same page again, my artist name is spelt in all lowercase letters as DOLLTR exclamation point CK. So if you ever see me spell it otherwise, or if you ever see the spelling otherwise, it's probably not been approved by me. So that's how you know if something's been approved officially by Claire or dolltr, if the dolltr name is spelled correctly. So all lowercase letters with the exclamation point. Thomas can give you some interesting anecdotes about that. Sorry, Thomas. But in the meantime, let's load up a drum rack onto this. So drums are a really good way of, I think, starting to play with loops. And let's see if we can create some kind of basic beat. Cool. Let's just grab an 808 chord kit. So an 808 chord kit, I was actually specifically talking about 808s in my class today earlier on with the kids that we're doing the summer intensive with. But I've started to also, I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but I'm also an ethnomusicologist. So nowadays I'm trying to do a lot of that with my music tech classes too. So I was telling them about how the 808 was, commercially released in 1980 and it was starting to get really popular in a lot of music genres, including Detroit techno. That I did a recent lecture of sorts about the history of dance music and ethnomusicology related to dance music culture. And so I spoke a lot about Detroit techno and the rise of that in the 80s, and how the 808 and the 909 drum machines that were made by Roland were very much popular at the time and still continue to be. But we've got a bunch of different sounds, all of them electronically generated. And let's start off with some kick stuff. So let's put in some kicks into the step sequencer over here in Live. And one thing that you might notice immediately is that we start having this constant pattern that's looping in the background. So what does it mean to loop? It means that we're having really an infinitely repeating type of sound that's going to go on and on and on until we stop it. So for example, right here, I'm going to make the drums a little louder. I've got this kick that's just going on and on and on, which is, funnily enough, the name of a song also. Let's also make these kicks a little higher in velocity. Great. So I just made them a little bit stronger. Now these will only stop if I stop. Ooh, if I hit over here. And if I press on any empty clip slot in session view, so I can either do that from Push or I can also do that from Live. Anytime you see a square button in Live or in any software really, that button's going to mean stop. So that's a useful clue for us, right? Because that means if we head over into Live and we press any clip slot that has a square in it, that's going to stop the sound. So right now we don't hear any sound. So that's a really great way of stopping a loop. If I want to play the loop again, I can just press on the loop and it's going to trigger in time and loop according to a certain kind of quantization. So let's take a minute to talk about quantization, everyone. What does it mean to quantize something? Well, if you hear the word quantization and if you've used music software before, you might be familiar with it being referred to to quantize notes and to tighten up timing. Well, in Live and in a couple of other softwares now that allow you to play different kinds of clips in different orders in a nonlinear fashion. There's also something that's called clip quantization or global quantization or launch quantization, lots of different names for it. But that basically means the name or the name of the time division that you're going to be able to loop against. So for example, now, if I head over to the top left-hand corner of Live, I see a word that says 1 bar. Now, if I take a look at this thing that says 1 bar, I'm also gonna put my screen over here just so I can see more clearly. Give me 1 second, everyone. Cool. So if I head over here to this 1 bar thing, and if I click on it, I have the option of choosing a couple of different things too. So I can choose 1 bar, I can choose 2 bars, 3 bars. I can change this to say 4 bars now. It's going to be on the top left-hand side, but I'm just going to make it 1 bar because that's the default that comes in Live. This means that anytime I press play on any clip that I have, it's going to launch at 1 bar intervals. And because of this, everything is going to kind of stay locked in time together. So a really great way to illustrate this might be to make a couple of copies of this kick drum that I have and create different loop variations with it. I'm also going to shift this up to the top because I noticed how it's not in the very first slot. That's because I was messing around and clicking around just now in Live. But right now it's at the top over here. I can duplicate this clip and I can add on some sounds. Maybe let's do some claps. So now I have 2 loops. I have one that's just a kick, and I have one that has a kick and a clap, and you'll notice how they're kind of seamlessly moving between one another. And that's because the launch quantization is set to 1 bar. So let's duplicate this one more time. And let's build upon this by adding in some hi-hats. So I'm going to do this super quickly. I have another stream that talks about using push. You can check that out from a previous episode of 343 TV. But here we go. Great. Cool. So we have this basic loop that's kind of going on and on and on, and it's just looping infinitely until I tell it to stop. So let's build up a couple of different parts, and then we're going to jump into the audio looping stuff. But usually when I think of productions, I think of them as having 4 pillars of music production. You've kind of got your drums, and then you've got your bass, and you've got your chords, and you've got your melody. So right now we have our drums. They're mostly holding down a lot of the rhythmic stuff that's happening, so got a pretty neat house beat now. Ooh, in the chat, everyone, actually, let's see if we can change this up a little bit. So if anyone could throw me out a number between 120 and 130, let's do something housey, so let's keep it in that range. But if you want to give me a number between 120 and 130, we can do some interesting stuff with it and change the tempo a little bit. In the meantime, let's continue on, though. Let's keep adding our 4 pillars. So maybe at this stage, let's add on some chords. I'm going to pull up a new MIDI track. And let's see what we got. Let's maybe just get some synth keys for today and find a sound that we like. So that's pretty neat. Let's pull that up. Cool, Latino Sofrito, thank you. Let's do 130. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the tempo from push. So I'm going to use this knob over here, and you can see on the top left-hand corner of Live, our tempo is no longer 120 as it was originally by default, but it is now 130. So here we go. Faster. Yeah. Cool. And before we do the chord stuff, nice, I like this patch. If someone could give me a letter that's between A to G. I asked for this too. So any letter between A to G. And we can figure out what key we're in. And once we're there, then things will move along a lot faster as well. So let's do a letter from A to G. Not sure if we... I feel like there's always like some delay between... Cool. Itamar, thank you. Let's do E. So from push, everyone, I'm going to make the root over here, E. So let's go ahead and press that E. So now I'm playing an E major. I think it might be cool to do E minor though. So let's do E minor. And now let's think of some kind of chord progression. Again, through looping. Now on push, one feature that I find super useful is something that's called fixed length. So this is something that you can only do on push, but with push, you are able to choose a certain length of notes that you would like to, not a length of notes, a length of a loop that you would like to record. So let's say I had a 4-bar loop, maybe with a certain kind of chord progression. I could set that over here on push and say fixed length, I'm going to record only 4 bars. Or I can also just record without. So maybe I'll record without for now, and I'll demonstrate a little bit of what happens afterwards. So let's go ahead and, oh, we had a question from Liso. Why are some of the instruments on live, thank you, live not in standard tuning? That's usually because it is up to the person who made this particular patch to do that. So some of them will be in standard tuning. Most of them will be. If they are a synthesized instrument, sometimes depending on the kind of synthesizer that you're using, you will get changes in frequency as you move up the register. But let's take a look at this particular instrument and maybe do a bit of a deep dive. So we've got Amethyst Harp over here. That is useful for a lot of synth key sounds. I think we took it from the synth key patch. One thing that we can do is dive a little bit deeper into Amethyst Harp. So I'm going to click on this little icon over here on Amethyst Harp. Ah, it's tension. So what I've done over here, everyone, is that I've looked at this instrument, Amethyst Harp, and I've opened it up a little bit to take a look at its contents. And this is actually a really neat tip. It's a doll tip. If you want to learn sound design from live, and if you are a live user, it's really useful to be able to open up instruments and see exactly what is going on. Tension is a type of instrument in live that's a physical modeling instrument, which means that it's meant to emulate a real life type of instrument, for lack of without nerding in too deep about physical modeling and going super in depth into that. But tension is modeled after plucking a string, so it's kind of related to the name of tension. It's like a tense something. You have a tense string and you're plucking it. But if you double click on tension over here, it's going to open up the instrument. And you can see exactly what's happening. So because it's emulating a string, Liso, to answer your question, strings in real life have a little bit of fluctuations as far as their pitch and their tuning go as well. So this might be a little bit off, especially if you have perfect pitch. You might be able to catch on with that. I don't, so it didn't really come across as something that was super concerning to me until it was brought up, of course. But yeah, some slight variations. But because of that, we end up getting a pretty nice type of natural sound, if you will. Latino Sofrito, I'm not sure what you mean by this, because there are many things that this can refer to, so if you could clarify that, that would be amazing. Chris, hi, Chris, welcome, greetings. If you have two instruments clashing at the same frequency, would you sidechain one of those instruments to the other? So it's interesting. Sidechain compression, if you think about it, what does it actually do? That's a great question, and usually I think of whether something is going to solve something by actually thinking about what that first thing does. So what does sidechain compression actually do? If you think about it, when you are sidechaining something, you are affecting the perceived loudness of a signal by changing its volume. So you're basically using the input from one sound to change the volume of another and make it softer, duck it down a little bit. It's also called ducking, so it's something that also is very common in a lot of broadcasting. If you're ever listening to the radio and you suddenly hear a radio DJ speak and then the volume of the music goes down, that is sidechain compression. It originated from radio, and now we use it very creatively for a lot of things in, say, EDM. And anytime you're hearing a music and you hear something go wah, 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 and if it's sounding as if the volume is changing very rapidly in a very rhythmic sort of way, it's possible that that is side chaining. Not always the truth. It could be a low frequency oscillator as well, but it's possible that it is side chaining. So if it's changing volume, then maybe to answer your question, Chris, it's possible that it could contribute to helping to clean things up, but it might be more effective for you to use something that actually deals with the frequency spectrum if you're trying to solve a frequency spectrum issue. So in that case, I'm kind of like throwing this question back at you, Chris, but what do you think might be a good type of audio effect to use to control a frequency spectrum? So yeah, Lisa, no problem. You're most welcome. Bilal, how does sidechaining relate to attack? It may or may not relate at all. So it really depends on your question. Usually when we refer to the attack of something, it refers to how fast something is kicking in, but it's different depending on what kind of instrument you're talking about. If you're talking about a specific synthesizer, attack refers to how fast a sound is coming in. So for example, this pluck, that has a very quick attack because it's coming in very quickly. If it were some kind of softer sound, maybe it would fade in a little bit and be like, that has a soft attack versus ba, that has a hard attack. So drums, again, usually have very hard attacks too, very quick attacks. But pads often have very soft attacks. Latina Sofrito, I was talking about MIDI controller. That, yeah, totally. This, I meant, I don't know what you actually meant by this. I'm well aware that APC40 is a MIDI controller, but I'm not sure what you meant by this. Did you mean looping? Did you mean fixed length? What specifically do you mean by that? So if you could clarify, that would be amazing. And yes, absolutely, Chris, totally, equalizer. So in that case, sidechaining might be, it might be contributing partially to it, but an EQ could probably help you clean things up a little bit more as well. And yes, Bilal, multiband compressors could also help. A multiband compressor is a type of compressor. It's a subset of that too. So absolutely, those could also help. But back on track, because we're talking about looping. That was a quick divergence, but we've got our drums. Let's loop some of these chords. Let's just do a simple 1, 4, 5. Let's do 1, 4, 5, 5, 5, 7. 1, 4, 5, 7 in a minor key. So here we go. Let's loop some stuff. 1, 2, 3. Cool. So I'm just going to make this softer. But one thing you might have noticed also is that from my looping of all of these things, everything was just continuously going on. And that's really one of the most powerful parts about live looping in particular. You can layer on a bunch of these different sounds without stopping the music at all, really. So sometimes when I'm just jamming on my own and when I'm doing other streams, which some of you might have seen also, I'm really not pressing the stop button at all. It's just going on and going on. So I've got my drums, I've got my chords. Let's live loop some bass onto this. So let's add a track and let's find a bass patch for us. So let's look for sounds, can browse for some sounds, look for some bass. Ooh. Actually, I do think there's a patch in here that's called Bass Housey, so maybe we need that. Maybe we just need that patch. Just need to find it first, though. Bass House. Ah, there it is. Great. Bass Housey. Let's load that up. Cool. Nice. So here we've got our bass sound. It's a little loud, so I'm going to adjust the volume a bit. But I'm also going to bring up the drums and the chords so that I have a reference point for the tempo at which I'm live looping, and also the cycle of the live looping. And this is where it comes into play, the fixed length. So I'm not sure if this will answer Latino Sofrito's question, if it was what you were referring to. But fixed length is an option, like I mentioned before, that is only available on push. So fixed length lets you loop a certain length of notes. And at this point in time, I know that my chord progression I recorded just now, let's take a listen to it again. There's my first chord. There's my second chord. There's my third chord. And here's my fourth chord. So I've got a 4-bar loop. Sometimes I do that and it's like, I sing in the key. So I've got a 4-bar loop. Now that I know I have a 4-bar long chord progression, maybe I would like all of my subsequent loops to kind of be the same length. And that's really when I would turn fixed length on. So I'm going to make sure that I have fixed length on, and I can choose any length of bars that I would like. So I can do a fixed length of 4 bars, of 8 bars, of 2 bars also. But since I have a 4-bar chord progression, let's do a 4-bar fixed length loop. What this means is that now when I start recording, I'm not going to have to press any button to stop the loop. It's just going to automatically stop after 4 bars. So a very cool live looping feature on push. Let's also make this a little louder. and lower too. Bass sounds are usually lower if you remember from our previous streams. Cool. So let's do a little bit of that. Here we go. I didn't have to press stop. Just kind of went on and on. So yeah, premises of live looping. It just kind of goes on and on and on as well. But yeah. Yes, Latinos Frito. Yes, push only. Yes, I mentioned that before. For the APC though, that doesn't mean you can't loop. You can absolutely you loop. You would just have to start and stop it manually by pressing on a button, which I'm gonna show you how to do a little bit in a moment on push. Cool. So we got the basis for a bunch of our patterns, which is great. Now though, what about audio? So this is the fun part that that's what I really wanted to get to today. But we're often thinking about audio looping as a little bit of a mystical art in a way. Like I don't know if anyone's ever thought the same way, but when I first saw someone loop audio, I was like, whoa, that's crazy. There's like 4 versions of them at the same time. And to start off, it's pretty straightforward, just looping. So what I'm gonna do is show you a very quick and dirty way of starting to loop something in live. And in this case, you can do this from push, but maybe what I'll do is I'll show you how to set it up just from live itself by clicking around. From push, you can do this as like I said too. But from here, I'm also going to just close up a couple of these sections that I'm not needing. For example, I'm not using my sends, so I'm going to close those up. But I am using my inputs though. So what I'm going to do is create a new audio track in live. It's going to be Command T if you're on a Mac or Control T if you're on a PC. And boom, now I have my new audio track over here. As a hint, though, I already do have an audio track over here, and that's actually my mic input in live. So you can kind of see how I have this green meter that's going up and down. That's just a monitoring section for me. So nothing we have to worry about too much, but I am going to speak about it a little later. On this track, though, my number 6 audio track, let's color it pink so that it stands out. Now on my pink audio track, I see a couple of things. I see that I have audio coming in from external 1. And that's probably the most important part about looping to begin with, especially if you're taking in any kind of audio input. You need to make sure that you have audio even connected to that. So that's something that's going to show up in your preferences in live. There's a really great section about setting up preferences in the Ableton reference manual that's completely free to view online. So if you just type in Ableton reference manual, you'll be able to check that out as well. But I'm not going to go too deep into the audio interface world itself. But right now, just know that I have a microphone set up, and I've set it up so that it's connected to Ableton Live, and I can kind of see its signal coming in here. So I've got audio from external in 1 in the input and output section of live. I also don't have any signal coming into the big meters, though. Why is that so? That's because I don't have this track record armed yet. If I press on this little circular button at the bottom of the track, ooh, now we see some kind of gray signal come into this audio track that I have over here. We don't hear it though, because my monitoring for this track is off. Now, monitor is a word that we use so much in life in general, even outside of music. We use monitor to refer to like screens. You just heard me refer to my new monitor that I had. But monitors can also, weirdly enough, refer to speakers. So I have like my monitors here too. Those are also monitors. And to monitor something, when we talk about audio, usually means to hear it back in a certain kind of way. So in live, whenever we're playing with anything that we can hear, we're usually playing between 3 different kinds of monitoring settings. And in fact, we see all of these in my live session now. So if you head over to, if you take a look at my live set over here, I've got my microphone, my KMix 1 mic set to monitoring in. What does monitoring in do? This means that I'm only going to be able to hear whatever is immediately coming in to my mic. So that means the audio track is receiving audio. I'm able to send audio to it. What about audio? What about monitoring set to auto? Monitoring set to auto is really a mix between in and off. So in order to explain audio, maybe I should talk about off first. So if in is monitoring everything that's coming in and it's going to let you hear everything that's coming in, what is off going to do? Off is going to show you that yes, there is some kind of sound coming in if you have the track record armed, which is going to be this red box with a circle in it. That's the record arm button for each track. So it's going to monitor off is going to be, yes, I'm ready to record some sound, but you're not going to immediately hear it. Why is this useful? Well, it's useful if you're looping. So it's useful if you're looping because otherwise you may actually hear multiple signals at the same time. So if anyone out there is a looper and if you're using Live to loop and if you're hearing multiple versions of yourself, that's probably why. At any point in time, I usually only try to have one track that's set to either in or auto when I'm looping. So see what happens if I set this to auto. Check, check, check. Now there's two versions of myself, really. And I end up being super loud because there's two. You can see I have audio signal coming in here, and I also have signal coming in here. But when I turn monitoring off, then my voice goes back to a more of a normal level. So that's one thing that I like to do, especially since my input monitoring is on here. But what if I turn this input monitoring off? I mute this track. So you probably couldn't hear me back then, but now you can hear me over here. And you can hear me in this new audio track that I have. So that's because I've set this to auto. Let's see what happens if I set this to in. Again, I can hear myself, yay. But if I set this to off, I'm still speaking, but you can't hear me if I have it set to off. So that's a little bit of the differences between all of these three versions. For looping though, I like to just going to reset a couple of things. Cool. For looping though, I do like having this set to off so that if I'm singing through a main track, I can set my loops up for something else. And once I have this armed on push, we are going to see that we have a different view of it too. Anything that you see on push that has an entire red strip lit up usually means that that track is record armed. So true enough, we see that over here. I'm going to just cover this a little bit so you can see the shadow of it, and it's not blocking too much of push. But that's where we are now. So we have this entire other set of loops going. Let's see what happens if I want to loop a little bit of audio onto it. So I'm just going to do like a quick vocal type of thing, maybe. Thinking of some ideas. Cool. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Do 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 do. And there I am. Again, you'll notice I didn't have to stop anything at all. I'm just there. Cool. So let's take a pause right now. I'm going to launch an empty scene so that we can stop all of these clips. So great, I have one audio loop going. What if I wanted a second audio loop? That's when having copies of the same track can be useful. So let's duplicate this track and its settings. But we're also going to delete this that we had over here. So we've just deleted the other clip from the second audio track. But now I can arm the second audio track and get ready to record in some complementary loop. So let's try to do this. Just gonna rebalance some levels to help me with my recording. So a bunch of different looping stuff. And that's something that you can see me do in full on the fly in a I think a slightly quicker fashion than this in my Skylark flip that you can watch on the 343 Labs YouTube channel. And you can also watch me do a breakdown where I go into a little bit more in depth into all of that. But yeah, that's just like a really quick way to do this. Live looping is one of my favorite parts about live, because you can start doing a lot more interesting manipulations on the fly. You can also add different kinds of effects to these things. So maybe now, if we wanted to, we can head over into each of these tracks. And maybe we can add a device. Or let's do this from live. So I'm going to head over into the software now. Ooh, whoops. Goodness, my size of live just changed a little bit. Give me 1 second, everyone. Cool, there we go. So now that I'm in live over here, let's click on this audio track and let's maybe add a little bit of processing to it. So I'm also going to unarm the other tracks and not picking up anything. But let's solo this particular track. And I'm going to introduce to you a couple of effects that I like putting on vocals to give them a little bit more of an interesting type of feel to it. So we got that. A couple of things. I would like to first EQ this particular vocal. So this is actually kind of going back to Chris's point just now, but EQ is really great for cleaning up certain frequencies. And I do think there's quite a lot of low end in this because I have a fan next to me. It's quite warm now, so I do need the fan. But I also do want to cut out that low end a little bit. So tidying this up a little bit. Also because generally frequencies in female vocals don't tend to stretch too low. So for a lot of female vocals, I tend to put something that's called a high pass filter on it to cut out a lot of that low end. I also do like to compress a little bit. And what a compressor does is often confused slightly, but a compressor, as the name implies, compresses a sound. So it doesn't make things louder, but it makes softer parts louder and louder parts softer. So imagine this kind of, maybe an accordion is actually a really great example. I only just thought of this, but an accordion, if instead of being sideways, we're really doing this. So you're taking the softer parts and making them louder, and the louder parts and making them softer. So you kind of get this slightly more mini type of sandwich that's happening. So we're going to do that to our vocals. The reason why a lot of the time people think that it makes things louder is because after you've compressed something, in order to bring it back to its original volume, you often employ something that's called makeup gain. And that's to make up for any type of volume that has been lost in the compression process. In Ableton Live, in the compressor, this happens automatically. So that's a reason why people sometimes get a little confused. But let's compress this. What I want to do is bring the threshold down on this compressor to where my vocal is coming in, which is about minus 40, looks like it. Or minus 30 something. And that way I'm catching everything. We also see this little yellow bar start to pop up in the compressor. It's labeled GR, and that stands for gain reduction. So like I said, gain being volume, that's measuring for us how much is being reduced. And live in the compressor is making up for that volume. So that's why it's sounding louder too. Great. So now that we got that, we can make this a little louder too. And I'd also like to put one more effect on it. Sometimes I like putting a chorus on my voice. So I'm going to grab a chorus preset from the audio effects category. And now it sounds a little bit wider. You can hear it in the left and the right ears. So here is before our entire signal chain. I'm going to click on all of these and turn them off. So here is, here is before. And here is after. Cool. So there we go. And what might be nice to do also is have the same chain on the second piece of audio. So I'm going to copy all of these over. I'm going to select all of them, select the first EQ, the first device, hold down Shift, and then select the last device. And then I'm going to hold down the Option or the Alt key, depending on whether you're on a Mac or a PC, and click and drag this over onto my second audio track. So now if I play both of these back, and I can adjust levels accordingly. One thing I like to do whenever I'm stacking up different kinds of vocals is generally for vocals that are higher in pitch, I'll actually have them a little bit louder. And that's because usually higher frequencies tend to be picked up much more easily by the human ear. So we don't need to have them as loud, but we could still have them loud enough to be able to hear things, but not as loud as lower sounds. The cool thing also about this in particular is that these loops are kind of the same, and it's a 2-bar loop, but it's really just a 1-bar loop repeated twice. And I didn't record this beginning of the loop quite so well, so I can adjust the start point by dragging that in. So now I have a solid 1-bar loop. And the same thing for this loop too. You have to make sure that you start correctly though, so there we go. Awesome. So let's take a pause here, and I'm going to head over into the chat for a second. Oh, this is so nice. I don't have to like click through all the windows. I just turn. Amazing. TWD. Are there any probability settings baked into live looping, or does that enter MSP territory? Absolutely. So just to put everyone on the same page, everyone, MSP is a subset of a particular software that's called Max MSP Jitter. Most of the time people refer to it as Max, but Max is a virtual programming environment that lets you do a lot of different types of processing. And Max and Live actually work in a form called Max for Live, where Max is inherently built into Live Suite, which is the most advanced version of Ableton Live. And you can even create your own custom instrument. So that's absolutely something that I do a lot too. With probability, I'm also wondering, TWD, if you're thinking of any specific probability things. For example, probability with regards to the loop length, or with regards to other settings. So I'm wondering what probability you are thinking of specifically. And Bilal, yes, filters and compressors, makeup gain is automatic in Live. Yes, interesting. So Bilal, to your point, just so I think you might perhaps be new to my streams, but Live is the software and Ableton is the company. So it's not automatic in Ableton, which is the company, but it's automatic in Live. So yes, it is. Paul, nice to see you again, Paul. Paul is one of our students, and he's taken some courses with us. Can you save these 3 effects as a single effect rack? Yes, absolutely. I do have a custom effects rack that is actually different from this. But yes, let's go ahead and save this as an FX rack. So in order to do that, we need to be in device view and not in clip view. So we can do that by pressing Shift-Tab on our computer keyboards. Shift-Tab, boom. And now that we've Shift-Tabbed over, we can see all of our devices. What I can do is I can select all of these devices. Again, click on the first device, hold down Shift on your computer keyboard, and select the last device. And now if you're on a PC, you can hit Control G, and if you're on a Mac, you can hit Command G. And oh, hi Blair, greetings. Oh, Blair, one of my other students, is also here too. You can click Command G, and these will group all of these together. And now that these have been grouped together, yes, Paul, if you remember, whenever you're saving a particular thing in Live, if you ever see a little floppy disk icon, so floppy disks are a little bit synonymous now with saving, but it's kind of ironic because like I haven't touched a floppy disk since I was maybe a teenager. It's been a while since we used floppy disks in school. But yeah, anytime you see a floppy disk, you can save that. So now all the way on the left-hand side, there's a little floppy disk on the lower left-hand corner of Live over here. And clicking on that is going to let you save that to your Live library. So you can call that any kind of thing that you want. For me, I have a specific FX racks that maybe we can go into in the next tips and tricks. If in the next tips and tricks, if you would like to see me talk about building FX racks, let me know in the chat. That might be kind of cool. But for now, for example, I have this FX rack I'm going to turn that off, but I have this FX rack that says, where is it? Where is my dolltr FX rack? I think I might have to type it in and search for it. Vocal, Sukun, all results. Vocal rack. Ah, cool. It's my CML vocal rack. Let's put it, I'm just going to put this directly on my microphone maybe, and we'll see what it sounds like. So here is my default vocal rack. It sounds a little different now and crazy because I'm not singing, but when I sing, it sounds a lot better. So yeah, let's put that away. But you get the idea. You can absolutely save it to your library. Itamar, is there a benefit to using a compressor rather than normalizing the gain of the vocal audio after recording? It's really up to you, and I think that it's as far as benefits go, there are always benefits and detriments to pretty much anything that you use. With compressors, the origin of compressors, being hardware types of sounds, is that you will change the color of the tone of a particular vocal or a particular piece of audio that you've recorded. And so that for that reason, a part of my vocal chain that maybe you saw just now, I'm not sure if it was in that one, it might have been in another vocal rack, but a part of my vocal chain is a type of compressor called the LA2A, and it's really a software emulation of that called the CLA2A by Waves. And it's to color the vocal a little bit. So it does compress, but it also colors it a little bit. You could also change the gain. What a compressor does, though, is it also makes sure that you're not, catching on any additional peaks, especially if your vocalist has a very dynamic sort of vocal. By dynamic, I mean that the voice changes a lot in between like softer parts and quieter parts. So that's actually why I personally have a compressor on my voice whenever I'm talking to you. Any students who have been in in-person classes of mine know that my voice can be very dynamic. So that means sometimes I speak a little bit more quietly. Other times I get super energetic and it gets really loud. So right now you're not hearing too much of that because my voice is compressed. But in the real classroom, if you're ever in a real life 343 Labs class with me, you'll hear my voice kind of go all over the place. Very dynamic voice. So, TAETRO, hi! TAETRO is our creative director at 343, everyone, who's also the in-charge person of managing all of our streams. Hi, TAETRO. Yes, dual monitor setup, big upgrades. I finally saved up enough to get myself a new monitor, so I have it over here with me. Very excited about it. And it's like over here, and then the camera's here, and yay! Good days, good times. TWD, I like it for things like drum variations. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but yes, Bilal, you're most welcome. MIDI randomness injection, I see. Yes, well, if right now we're talking about looping audio, so we're not looping MIDI, so it's a totally different thing altogether, I would say. Yes, Bilal also, yes, sometimes compressors have gates too, so it can help with managing noise. The reverse of a compressor is called an expander. So a gate is a type of expander. So that's what you can usually do with that too. Yeah, great. I'm glad that I kind of got to touch on all of those questions. I'm kind of running through everything. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the questions at now. So cool. Let's see if we can listen to this right now. Maybe with these unsoloed. Cool. So now that I have all of these different types of things, let's maybe talk a little bit about what it means to be able to do a couple of other interesting looping type things on the fly. So one thing that I do sometimes do is change the pitch of things. So for example, I've got these loops over here. Let's stop these, the drum stuff, but let's play with the audio stuff. Cool. So it's cool. They're kind of doing their thing. What if I wanted to make these a little bit crazier though? So if I head over into clip view, let's just play with this one main loop that I had first. Something else that I do a lot of when I'm playing with different kinds of clips is, here we go. Especially if they're audio, I try to change the pitch and make it interesting. So let's warp this. It's already warped actually, but let's head deeper in here and maybe change the warping of this. So maybe if I wanted some kind of interesting sample. And you kind of hear that little click. That's really because of the transposing types of things. But let's do the same thing over here for the second clip. Maybe this one will make... You can kind of hear all these interesting things happening. So now they're kind of like an octave higher. So that's something I try to do in... looping stuff too. And you can pretty much do most of these things like on the fly without having to, you know, stop live at all. Just kind of continuously looping. Let's do a couple more things though. So let's head over here. Now, one thing that I like to do a lot with different pieces of audio too is as a, I just noticed that we are finishing up in time though. So maybe I'll just ask the question one more time because I'm not sure if we managed to get answers for this, but I would love to, I was just about to go a bit more into building looping FX racks, but if you would be interested in that, let us know in the chat and maybe we can do that at the next stream. It might be fun to do that as well. And I'll just do a quick wrap up about maybe a couple of the looping concepts that I talked about today. But as with most things in live that we're doing, we can loop two kinds of information. We can loop MIDI and we can loop audio. So again, MIDI is going to be all of these notes that you can loop very quickly in succession, create different clips and variations. And really without stopping at all between different kinds of variations of the same loop, just building it up and up and up. And then we also were able to loop some chords. And once we got that set up, we noticed, okay, these chords were 1, 2, 3, 4 bars long. So because of that, we wanted to have the same length of a loop for our bass part. So we turned on something called fixed length. We turned it on so that we could have a 4-bar loop matched correctly with the piano. Goodness, my words were like escaping me for a moment. But yeah, with the chords. So once we did that, we were able to just press the record button once on push and then have that loop on its own. And again, this is a function that you can only get from push. There are, kind of alluding to what TWD said though, there are ways that you can use Max for live devices to set up specific loop lengths. I'm not going to go in depth into that today, especially not within like 3 minutes left that we have, 3 or 4 minutes. But yeah, that's totally something you can do. So now we have loops that all kind of, go with each other and are all the same length. Then we talked a little bit about looping audio and what it means to have an audio loop go. So we had to set a couple of things up in live, and we talked about different ways that you can monitor as well. And you can do some pretty interesting things with looping and input monitoring that I didn't go into today, but you can check out my other tutorials with 343 to talk about that. I do speak about it, like I said, in my Skylark tutorial, which was the tune that you heard at the intro of this session today, so I hope you liked it. Thank you. Thank you, Scott, for saying that you liked it very early on. Really appreciate it. But yeah, so we talked about looping audio, and then I talked a little bit about building an FX rack for it. So right now on each of these audio tracks, we have an EQ, we have a compressor, and we have a chorus that's not active at the moment because I turned it off, but I'll turn it back on again. And because of this, we're able to treat our audio that we've looped a little bit better and make it sit a bit better in the mix overall that we have. So that's something that I also do try to do. I try to mix on the fly in a way, not super extensively, but just to make sure that I'm getting the right sounds that I want, because that's also going to set me up for other kinds of sounds that I make in the future. So because of that, we were able to record 1 loop and then 2 loops, and then we played with their warping and their transposition as well. So we ended up getting these. With a little bit of a weird warping start, but that's okay. Something to be a bit changed as well. Going to stop these. Whoop, stop all these clips. Great. Cool. So just going to check a couple of the chats. Yeah, Tree of the Way. Thank you. Oh, yes, cool. Awesome. Maybe next time at the next stream on Monday, we'll do a little bit of FX rack building. That'll be fun. I love building FX racks. Makes me really happy. Yay. Tree of the Way. Thank you so much for tuning in. We stream every day. This is 343 TV. If you want specific shows by me, I stream every Monday. My name's dolltr, but I also go by Claire. That's the name that I teach under with at 343. It's my real name. dolltr is really just my artist project. But yeah, so you can tune in every Monday. We will be here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. So it's going to be a pretty regular thing, hopefully. Thank you so much. Really happy that you enjoyed it. And yes, absolutely, Thomas added, Thomas from 343 Labs. You can also view our previous streams. So you can check, if you want to type in, if you want to check out previous tips and tricks, you can type that into our YouTube channel and you can check that out. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, everyone, if you want to be notified of whenever we stream next. But yes, also, oh, thank you so much, Paul, for the kind words. Yes, good courses if you want some intensive training. Paul did a course with us that was, I think, it was like 3 classes a week for 4 weeks. That was really intensive. But we do have other offerings. We also have an upcoming Ableton Live Summer Intensive 2 that's going to teach you all the basics of live. And Scott, yes, excellent point too. The latest version of the Launchpad Pro, the Mark III, does also have fixed length recording. So that could be an option as well, especially if you're familiar with the workflow of Launchpad and you want that fixed length. That's definitely an advantage over getting the Push, even though the Push is probably my darling at this point, which some of you know. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We've come to the end of another 343 TV stream. But thank you. Really appreciate all of your time. Thank you to Thomas for managing the chat as usual. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. We will see you again tomorrow for Techno Tuesdays with the one and only John Selway. And I'll see you again next week on Monday. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. And until next time, bye.
You've called me in a landslide every time when you tell me that you want me by your side. Got me tied by the heartstrings, honey. And then you go and cross the line. No, it's a different kind of lie when you tell me that you need me in your life. Cause I know you're never guilty, honey. You suffocate me in my mind, can't you hear me cry? My knees are shaking, the ground beneath breaking with the sound of you forsaking me. I don't need disaster, the ruins of the aftermath's light. Call me in a landslide. Call me in a landslide. Call me in a landslide. You watch me as I tremble yet again. Push me down and take me under your command. All your dirt has got me caving, honey. Somehow you got the upper hand, yeah. So I'm praying for salvation from the heavens above to save me from the reverie I thought was love. You were amazing, honey. But now I know I've had enough. Can't you hear me cry? My knees are shaking, the ground beneath quaking with the sound of you forsaking me. I don't need disaster, the ruins of the aftermath's life. You call me in a landslide. Call me in a landslide. Call me in a landslide. No, so baby, please, why won't you let me leave? That's all I want. You're changing me. Over the edge I go, and now I'm falling in all your fantasy. Don't forget all the reason the light has abandoned my eyes. Oh, I'm buried from the inside. You call me in your landslide. You call me in a landslide. Call me in a landslide. No, yeah. call me in the lands.
I am in the middle of moving, and so I have no internet. My studio's not set up, and I had to come by the school to teach, and just coronavirus, no one's here. We had to get things going. I mean, it was just a little bit of a mess, but this is a testament to, if there's a will, there's a way. So here we are. So I'm sure, I have no idea how many of you are active right now watching. If you're still here, lob in just a little hello into the chat, so get some solidarity going. I'm going to stream for an hour. I have to jump off promptly at about 2:25. But today marks the first day of my new, kind of the new topic. So obviously off to a great start. Where I'm going to be working in Logic, actually, going forward now. So this is the Logic show. And what I'm going to be focusing on for the next few weeks, is hip-hop. So we're going to start talking about how to make like trap beats, how to make contemporary hip-hop beats, also like classic hip-hop beats. What up, Blue Sirens? And yeah, that's what we're going to be focusing on. Now also, what we're going to be talking about, a lot of the time kind of peppered in, is some of the newer features in Logic 10.5. So some of you may or may not be aware that there's an update to Logic. I highly recommend getting it. It's really cool. There's a bunch of really new powerful instruments that they gave us, and a bunch of new interesting workflows that they've kind of allowed us to start exploring. So without any further ado, let's jump into the stream. Now, I should also mention, if by some miracle some of you have been are here right now that haven't joined us before, 343 Labs is a school based out of New York City. We are a music production school. We offer classes in person and online. Obviously, right now we're not offering classes in person, but we have a strong presence online. We have a lot of tutorials up. We've been doing these live streams for over a month now, and we offer tons of classes in different subjects. We do Ableton, Logic, mixing, mastering, songwriting, sound design, you name it. So if you're interested in taking classes with us, please visit the website, 343labs.com. And if you dig the content, subscribe to our channel. All right. So with all that being said, without any further ado, let's just get into some music production in Logic. Again, if you are still here in the chat, drop a line. So, feel free to ask some questions, ask me to, talk about certain things. I'm very open to that. So, just opening up Logic, there are a couple of new things that you should be aware of with this 10.5 update. First of all, we get this guy right here, right? So we've never had either of these icons before. This icon represents the arrangement icon, and this icon represents the loops grid, which is a new feature of Logic that, cough, cough, they stole from Ableton. But that's okay, because it works really, really well, and I love it. So what this is it is basically an infinite loop kind of playground. So if you've never used Ableton, one of the cool things about Ableton is that there's this thing called Session View. And what it allows you to do is create a loop that will play forever. It'll just never stop. So you might be thinking, why would I want to do that? Well, the reason it's useful is so that you can compose without feeling any kind of constrictions around your arrangement at all, right? So if you are like, okay, I want to make some music, I want to come up with a cool idea, but I don't have any idea yet like what the structure of it's going to be. Sometimes it can actually be, more of a hindrance to have to work in a structured format. And so it's a cool way to just kind of create in a very loose sort of capacity, come up with, loops and ideas that you can then start putting together in the arrangement view. And so what we're actually going to do today is I'm going to start by exploring a new instrument that Logic has in this view. And so we're going to work in this view initially to make a beat. So one of the coolest things that they added to Logic is this thing called the drum synth. And so what the drum synth is exactly what you would imagine it is. So it allows you to create drums in a couple of different kit styles. So first you have a kick, right? And you have these different styles of kicks. We have the heavy kick, hard kick, punch kick, which silly name, doesn't sound punchy at all, air kick, and tight kick. So what I first want to do today is explore some of these kick drums, and we'll go through a bunch of the other kits as well. Kit sounds, not kick, but kit sounds. And we'll explore those. But first I want to show you how to make an 808 out of this kick drum module. Now the cool thing about this is that, as you can hear, it responds to pitch, so it responds to your keyboard. And so what I'm going to start with is I'm just going to start with a very basic 808 pattern. And so in order to use this loop view, all you have to do is hit record, and it's going to count you in, right? And it's going to allow you to record a loop. Now, it's only going to record for the amount of time that you actually record for. Let's see, what's that guy up there? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit record, and it's going to give me the count in, and I'm going to play along with the metronome. And I'll hit pause. So if you play for a longer period of time, right, then what it'll do is it's kind of automatically going to adapt to a longer loop length. So if we hear what I played by pressing play here, so that's cool. And this is going to work like your normal piano roll. There's nothing magical about what's going on in here. Right? So now the cool thing about this also is that when you press pause, it's going to stop in line with where you were. You hit enter, then of course you'll start playing from the beginning. So let's say we want to take this kick and make it into, an actual 808. Let's first explore some of what's going on in here. So first we have our pitch, right, which is going to determine what the pitch is. Now, my recommendation to you is to keep it at 0 because it's gonna track to your key, right? So with key tracking on means it's gonna go up the keyboard with us. Right? Key tracking off just means that it's going to be the same note every time. So my recommendation to you would be that if you want to make a kick drum out of this, you would actually take key tracking off and then tune it with this. But if you're looking to make an 808, which is you're going to want to be able to use it like a bass sound, you could turn the key tracking on. Right, and so that way you can actually start playing notes and treat it like a real bass line. So the first thing that we have in order to create like an 808 sound, right, is we have the saturation. So I don't like that, that's too saturated. That's pretty cool though. So next thing we got is the shape knob. So basically what shape is going to do is give us more body the more we turn it up. So I like that right about there. And decay, of course, is just how long it's going to last. Sweep, which basically, I don't know why they would call this sweep, but it's sort of like how long and fat the transient is. So if you want a more classic 808, like from a drum machine sound, you can use that. And this is going to give you, a really smoother 808 sound. So you can probably use a kick with that a lot more easily. And the higher that the sweep is, the more kicky it kind of sounds, as opposed to bass. So I'll keep it there for now. And then last but not least, we have tone. And tone is just going to determine, I guess, how long the decay is of the kick. And I know you see decay there. You're like, wait, isn't that decay? This is a bad label for decay, because that's just supposed to be like the length. Really, I would call that more like the whole envelope. But tone here, it just seems like it's going to give you a fatter tone the higher it gets. So I dig that. And now, as you can see, we have the mode set to mono. So what that means is that it's monophonic right now. I can only play one note at a time. Now if I put it onto poly, right, I could actually play, sorry that's a little loud, some weird version of a chord. Anyway, so fun logic fact, if you hit option and click on a value, it goes back to its original value. Alright, so let's go back down. I have it on poly mode, so they're going to overlap. So the cool thing about mono, too, is that the way a monophonic synthesizer works is it immediately chokes the previous note. Now, I gotta tell you right off the bat, these drums sound really badass that are made from this drum synth. Like, this is just not an advertisement for Logic. I would not use this if it didn't sound good. I think it sounds really good. So I'm gonna slow this down. There are two ways to go about really producing hip-hop. You can do it at a lower BPM, or you can do it at a higher BPM and work in halftime. So we're not going to talk about halftime today, but we'll get into halftime the next round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just for now probably keep it with just this key. Let's see. See if we go up an octave. Let's see. Now, I'm just going to keep it on one key for now. So that's just going to give us a C. We'll be working in C. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a new instrument, another new instrument called Sampler. Put it in stereo. So Sampler, let me find some samples. Ooh, I might not have them with me today. That's okay. Let's see. That's actually perfect. So let me set my computer output to there. There we go. So you can hear that. See that? So I like that one. So what I'm going to do is, Sampler is also another kind of instrument that they created to try to, if we're being totally honest, get on par with Ableton, kind of catch up a little bit in terms of some of their modern production tools. And so this is a really, really, really powerful instrument. I've been really digging it, and it's really easy to use. All you do is you take an audio sample and you drag it literally anywhere. And what happens is it's going to map to a particular key on your keyboard. And, oh, hello, Ola. And what it's going to do is default going to map to C1. right? And it's going to also have velocity sensitivity embedded in it, which is super awesome. So basically, the way that this works is you can zoom in by, you know, spreading your fingers, get really close to the start of the sound wave. So I'm going to want to make sure that the start of the sound wave is right there. And so to control this, you just click over this icon right here. It allows you to basically control where the loop, where the sample starts from. So I'll go right like that. Now I can zoom back out. And then you have a couple of different options for the trigger mode. So at first we have what's called gate mode. That's its default mode. Now you don't see that, it doesn't say that anywhere, but I just know that from using samplers over the years. So what gate mode means is that however long you play the note for is how much of the audio sample is going to be played. But if I put it on one shot, I can hit the note and I can let go and it will play the whole note. Now I also could put it in reverse mode, which is super sick. And I can do the one shot mode in reverse. Now, one shot versus gate, you're not really going to hear a huge difference in terms of this type of sample because it's so short. But I'll show you very quickly on the next one. Now, what I can do is that this yellow line up here dictates the range that I have access to on this keyboard for this sample. So if I increase this, let's say up to C3, what this now means is I can go like this. Now one thing you might be hearing is that the notes get really short the higher up I go. Now that's a phenomenon of just naturally what occurs when you raise something in pitch. But of course we can work around that very easily. And Logic has of course foreseen this. So what they've done is they allowed you to put this in, which is basically their flex time algorithm, which is similar to Ableton's warp algorithm for those of you that also are familiar with Ableton. All you do is you click this on, and now so now it's going to stay at the same speed. You can hear that it's like, you know, getting a little bit mangled the higher we go. But if you have a whole octave that works, you know, or even half an octave, like a perfect fifth range that works well with the pitch, then that's, you know, it's a pretty solid starting point. So what I'll do is right now is I'm just going to program in so you can either record in, right, or you can just double click. At least I thought you could just double click. I was clearly wrong. Which is fine. So I'll just, you know, keep this guy. And then he doesn't think we finished recording. Okay, good. And let's now put in, I'm going to program in some hi-hats. So right now I'm just going to do a basic eighth note groove. Let's see how that feels. Alright, so I want both of these to, let's see, quantize start. Let's put on smart pickup. Alright, so I need to stop both of these. So one trick, first off the bat, for getting your hi-hats to sound more alive, right, is to reduce the velocity a little bit on some of them. So I'm going to hit enter, right? So here, if you hit stop right here, it stops all the cells. And you can just restart from the get-go. So I'll just click here, right? And this will trigger the entire row. So we can hear the difference between, so it stops, they go back to 0, and then, so that's kind of boring. It's not boring, but it's one way. But it's going to be it's going to have more feel if I reduce the velocity on these. So we get a little bit more push-pull, right? Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. first of all, I'm going to make all these the same volume. So in Logic, I'm just not the volume, velocity. The way you do it in Logic is you click here, and then you just raise one of these dots, and then you're all good to go. So what I'm thinking is I want to maybe raise these up just a couple notes. So I'll just hold Option. So I like that a little bit more. There's a little bit more tonality in there, right? Now, if I want to get rid of the transient, right, which is the snappiness of that kick, I can just EQ that out a little bit. So it's a little bit deeper and darker. Now, I'll show you right off the bat a pretty quick and easy trick for getting your 808s to cut through on a laptop if they're like deep and dark like this. So basically the way you do it is I'm going to go ahead and use a plugin from FabFilter called Saturn 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to target this area, these upper harmonics. And this is a multi-band distortion plugin. So what it allows me to do is hit it with a different types of saturation. It's a really, really amazing plugin. So what I'm going to go for is just heavy saturation. That's too much. That's not that cool. Subtle saturation is not enough. I dig that though. The gentle saturation is pretty nice. And then if I create another band so that we don't saturate anything up there, then we can get a little bit more focus in this area, as opposed to getting too much snap back in the kick, right? We just get more of that right? That stuff. So over here with it off, it just sounds like a deep muted kick. If I even just raise the volume here. And maybe now I'll come back into the drum synth itself and adjust like this sweep knob. Yeah, so now it's pretty like nice. We get that nice kind of gliding, floating 808 feel. It's still really heavy. Now, of course, the next thing we gotta do is throw in a clap. So I'm gonna use, we can explore the drum synth claps. Actually, you know what, let's not do that. I don't really love those. We can go over that next time, but I'm gonna jump into the Drum Kit Designer and see if I find a cool clap sound. So I'll go into my electronic drum kits. I'll go to Atlanta and turn off record. So if it's record armed, right, you can only record, but if you turn off the record arm, you can create a clip. Maybe I was wrong. Oh, no, there you go. So if you open your pencil tool, you can create the clip. So let's get in there. Stop these so they all start together, and then all right, we're getting a little bit of Scooby Snacks. So all right. I'm just gonna look for the clap sound. I actually hate all of those claps. So let's see if there's a better one. Let's try After Party. Not a fan. The funny thing is that Ibiza might have a good clap for this. Yeah, we can work with that. Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead, right, throw a clap on the 2 and the 4, and increase them. So let's stop this and. Now we need to reduce that. And reduce the loop length too. Now I have a feeling the compressor is doing something terrible to it. Yep. I'm gonna turn off all this crazy nonsense that it has going on. So I'm gonna actually, I want to mono out my clap. I want it to be down the middle. So what I'll do is I'll throw on my gain utility and just click the mono button. And now, abracadabra, the claps are down the middle. I'll turn up the gain so they get louder. So there's something weird going on with the claps when they mono out. You can actually hear them phasing off themselves. It's like towards the high end of the frequency, which sounds pretty awful. So there's actually a way you can get around this. It's kind of a sneaky little way. So first of all, you can also get these guys into here by just holding Option and dragging it in. So now we have our arrangement view and our loop view. Now if I turn off my loop view, okay, maybe we are not allowed to exist in both places at once. Okay, that's pretty weird. I have to admit, I'm still kind of new to this whole entire workflow, so you'll have to bear with me while I get situated. Here, let's just try to hit record. That's weird. Okay. Huh. Alright, well, I will definitely get back to you on that. Let's see this. Enable performance recording. Let's try that. Yeah, I have a feeling that'll do it. There we go. So I take those, leave those, and now why won't you allow me to do cool things in here? There we go, okay. And now our claps are not triggering. That's super bizarre. Let's try to get these, turn that off. To be perfectly honest, I usually do not upgrade initially because there's a lot of bugs, and it seems like there's still some bugs still to work out with this. So I'm just gonna, for now, just keep working in this loop view, which is not a big deal. Although what I did, well, actually, what I wanted to do was show you guys a cool way to get something to be mono. But we'll do that next week. All right. Let's stop this. So with the clap, what I do want to do is just shorten it. quickest way to do that is to come into Dynamics, come into Noise Gate, and turn up the threshold. So what a gate does is it allows you to basically say anything that drops below this volume, do not play. And then this release allows me to add back in the arrows under the word snap. Where the audio is coming from. This or this? I think this just allows me to go like that. And vice versa. And this just zooms in a little bit more. But I appreciate, what was that? I appreciate that. I could be wrong. Regardless, I'm gonna check into that, and I'll definitely get that sorted next. The smattered snap. Smart snap? I see. No, so smart snap is that just has to do with dragging grids around. Like, so that just has to do with like when I drag it onto the grid. See, that's so strange that it wasn't working before. Now it's working totally fine. Okay, that's so bizarre, man. All right, anyhow. I'm going to work in here for now, because I want to actually go over a couple of cool little things that you can do in the arrangement window. Oh, all right. You win, Blue Sirens. Thanks, dude. That's very, very helpful. Sick. Oh, and I guess you can do it individually as well. That's really cool. That's actually quite useful. All right, Blue Sirens, you are my new favorite person today. Thank you for showing me that and bailing me out. I'm supposed to know these things. All right. Anyway, so the release, basically what it does is it allows us to make it so that the gate doesn't close too quickly. Right, so that's like a little unnatural sounding. Beef up the clap a little bit, and someone's blowing up my phone. So I'm gonna use, actually I'm gonna go ahead and just use some Logic stuff so you guys can, just in case you don't have third-party plugins. I'm gonna go ahead and use this Distortion 2 plugin. This really thickens that up. Yeah, what the heck, actually isn't doing that much. The volume has deceived me. Oh yeah, that's thickening it up a little bit. So it's giving me a little bit of lows. And then just real quick, I'll just come into the vintage EQ collection and go into the Tube EQ. And just give it a lot of love at about 300, or 200 actually. Like that, and then just cut out some of that gook. Thicker clap, which we can now even turn down a little. And so if I want my clap to be down the middle, let's say, here's a little trick that you can do in Logic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pan this all the way to the right. And this is actually something you can't do in Ableton. So this is a big score points for Logic moment. I'm going to bounce this in place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the mono button. So what it does is, all right, a couple important things I have to point out. I realize I just went very quickly with that. So there are two types of panning that exist in Logic. The first one is this standard mode that comes with it, right? And you might be like, what do you mean there's two modes of panning? Isn't this all there is? Well, if you hit right click, you get something called stereo pan. Stereo pan is very different than your normal pan. So your normal pan mode is actually a lie. It is not really panning. What it actually is it turns down one side to make it seem like it's moved it to the other side. So let me demonstrate this to you. Notice that, keep an eye on where the right side is hitting, right? As I turn it further to the right, all that you will see is that the left side is going to go down and the right side will not get louder. So it stays the same spot at about -9, right? It has not changed at all. Same thing if I turn it to the left, same exact spot. So it makes it seem like we put it over there, but the fact of the matter is we actually lost half of the information. We lost all the right-sided information. So if you want to take something that's out wide and get it to be in the middle, sometimes the problem is, like you saw, is that when you put on a utility plugin to mono it out, it starts to phase off itself. And so what I decided to do to work around that, this little trick, is I panned it all the way to the right and I bounced it in place. So now my bounce in place is just only right-sided information, which is actually mono. Now what I do is I hit the mono button, and now it's right down the middle. And now my clap is in the middle. And it's really quiet. So what I'll do is I'll open up this regions button and just turn up the gain. Now, that clap is not snapping enough, and so Logic doesn't really have a plugin that specializes in helping with this, but there are some amazing plugins from other manufacturers. And so I'm going to go ahead and use the Plugin Alliance SPL Transient Designer Plus to make this really snappy. Oh, what's up, Nigo? Or should I say Martine? That's without it. And with it, you can hear that it creates a little bit more of a snap. Cool. I'll turn that down just a little. Now the next thing I'm going to do, these are hi-hats, right? Is I'm actually going to make the hi-hat pattern a little bit cooler. I'm going to do a little bit of a roll right here. So we're going too slow for that 30-second note to be cool, but if we go like this, now I'm going to increase the length of this loop, or actually I'm going to use a cooler command. I'm going to use Control L, which converts my loops to regions. Other way to do that is you right click and do convert loops to regions. Very quick, very snappy, very useful. I also like that. That's kind of, for me, a score one for Logic moment, because Ableton does not have one of those. And that actually was useless because I was just going to do this anyway. Nonetheless, There we go. And so I want to increase the non-roll section, because rolls I think are kind of annoying if you do them all at the same time. And so what I'll do is a little bit of like a Metro Boomin style technique. So it's going to be a kind of glide down. Maybe I'll even go down one more, open up the sampler, increase the range that I can go, and go right there. Woo! That shit's cool. Now we're getting somewhere. All right. Let me try to get a kick pattern going on in there now. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my drum synth again. I'll just put it in mono because I don't need my kick to be stereo. And let's choose a tight kick. That honestly sounds like a kind of a cool kick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the kicks on most of the downbeats, not hit them on all the 808s, because that's kind of silly. The kick is supposed to like emphasize certain moments in the 808 rhythm. So I'm going to go like that. Quantize my imperfection. And then let's raise it to. I like that right there. I'm going to turn the decay down. That works for me. Turn up the snappiness. A little bit. I don't know about that. Maybe turn up the pitch, actually. I like that right there. That sounds really good now. Yeah, let's see what we'll have to return down the body. Make all of these go to 127. I want another kick right there. There we go. Now the funny thing is the kick is too snappy for me. So I'm going to do this 808s. So I'm going to use the same plugin that I used to create more snappiness. To now decrease the snappiness. I'll just roll back the attack now. And now what I might do is come in here to the vintage EQ collection, go to the graphic EQ, which is based on API, and just, yeah. kick way more knocky. So if you want your kick to just punch, have way more weight, 63 hertz or 60 hertz, regardless of that range, just crank it. And then just give it a little bit of tickle on top. So that way we don't lose the transient of the kick when it cuts through, while still gaining the bass. Maybe you can give it a little bit right there. Now I gotta say, thank you, Martine, for saying that the kick sounds awesome. I happen to think it sounds pretty decent myself. So I'm gonna just save this real quick. Let's say Logic TV, week 1. All right. So I'm a big proponent of designing your kick and bass so that you don't have to sidechain, right? Especially if it's something like this. Every time you sidechain your 808 to your kick, you're losing the power of the 808. So I'd rather just have my kick be powerful enough to cut through my 808, right? That way it's always feeling really boxy, and I mean not boxy, but really like plump and round and beautiful. So now if I were to, if I'm ever going to do any amount of sidechain, what it would really be to do would just be to make it so that there's no distortion that occurs between the two. So that's what I'll do right now, is I'll just change it. Let's see, my kick, and I'll just make it so it literally just like 1 to 2 decibels of gain reduction, which is barely any side chaining, just so there's no distortion. And I want it to jump off really quick. So let's say 20 milliseconds. My ratio should be 10, so it's really gonna just immediately just duck down. Thank you, Blue Sirens. Yeah, we're actually, so yeah, dude, I'm gonna be doing this every week pretty much now, from now on, with the Logic Show. So I'm really excited to share a lot of little Logic tricks that I use. So there we go. That's enough, right? You don't need a crazy amount of sidechain, because this way you're not losing really any, power. And now we have a really tight, concentrated low end that's not distorting, which is very important. So let me now add like some melodic content, right? So I'm a big fan of like chill hip hop, even though this might seem like it's really intense. One of my favorite things to do in music is make something that seems like it's intense, like an intense bass line, but then use like a chill chord progression to actually like kind of balance it out. So I have to cut this clip right there. I'll tell you what, I'm actually going to bounce this in place again, because it's an eyesore, so I'm going to just call this clap now. So now I have my clap. Get the hell out of here. Now your mono. Let's start from bar 1. I don't know what we're doing over here. So I'm going to go ahead and play some kind of like chilled out. I'm gonna say I'm actually not going to play. I'm terrible at the keyboard. I'm going to like program in some chilled out chords. So let's figure out first of all what note we're playing here. So it would seem like we're playing a G, but it's distinctly possible that that's not the case. This is definitely actually a little bit of an awkward tuning on this 808. I think it's tuned in between G and G flat. So I'm gonna go ahead and just I think technically the G overtone is in there, but for some reason the G flat it feels more correct to me. But that's actually kind of irrelevant. So what I'm going to do is I'll play both and just see which one works. So I will play the G flat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a minor 7 add 9, which will basically negate the consideration of key because it's just going to sound beautiful. Let's see which one sounds better. I don't think it really matters, to be honest. So I'm going to come in here and just program these real quick. So I want my sustain to be high because it's a pad. I want my attack to be slow because it's a pad. I want my release to be marginal. And in order to get a good pad sound, what I like to do is put this in the middle, detune this oscillator a little bit. Let's try that. Yeah, that's tight. Maybe decrease the attack. Yeah. And maybe I'm gonna actually lower these. Let's see what happens if we drop these an octave. They might be too muddy, but we could also just voice them. Yeah, it's a little muddy. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of inversion. That gives us a very jazzy sound too, which is tight. Then we get this, I get that minor second voicing, which is super dissonant. Let's raise them up an octave and see what that got us. Nah, I'll just stick with our original voicing up here. But I'm definitely going to make this a lot of a nicer sound. What's this? Increase the vibrato. That's pretty chill vibe. And let's put the glide on just a little bit. Yeah. Now, one of the reasons I just decreased the attack is because the glide was sort of making it almost smoother in the attack, and it was taking it longer for the harmonic content to register, so it was sort of like feeling delayed, which was, you know, not the greatest. sounds really cool. So one thing that we could do to kind of solve this voicing situation where I just want them to be a little thicker is to just take some of the middle notes and then also put the bass in so that it doesn't feel like we're doing a slash chord. I think I'm going to layer a piano sound with these. There's actually a really good one. You know, let's just use Logic's. Logic has... Oh, does it still have it? It must have a good sampler still, a good piano sound. Let's search high and low. So all I'm going to do is just copy these chords. Wow, that's so harsh. I apologize. That blew your ears off. Still harsh. No, why would you ever compress the piano? So I'm going to drop these down because pianos do better in low octaves and synths when they're voiced. Yes. I'm going to put this in a lot of reverb. I'll use Space Designer. So it'll reverb more down the middle. And let's, I'm just kind of playing silly games at this point with these voicings, without giving it much thought. Oops. So we could get, this will be nice. Oh yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, this is like some super chord type shit that like is almost impossible to play as a human. So one thing I might do now is, we'll call this piano chords. I will, and I got a good jump in a second, but I'll just do one quick thing. So let's try studio strings real quick. Now I'm going to take this exact same voicing. I don't like that at all. Okay, I'm not going to use the studio strings. I can tell immediately I'm not going to be into that. So let's just pull up retro synth. I love retro synth. The more that you hang out with me in Logic, you're going to realize I abuse retro synth. I love this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly program in a sound, a synth sound, and I'm going to cool. And I'm going to put that in a lot of reverb. I'll just use the same Space Designer. Reverb. For continuity's sake. Yeah, okay, maybe I need a lot more reverb. I do. Yeah, that's what I want. A big, so let's go synth stabs. Take out the piano chords and see what that feels like. Yep. I'm gonna reduce the piano chords in volume. Yeah, I'm very into that. All right, so I am gonna have to jump in a second because I'm running around like a madman today. But thank you, those of you that tuned in, for tuning into the first week of Logic TV. Really, really sorry for the confusion with the timing and everything. As I mentioned before, I'm in the middle of a move, and so it just unfortunately made it a little bit difficult for me to be able to start on time. But nonetheless, you know, if there's a will, there's a way, and we were really committed to trying to bring you guys some content today. So I'm really glad, you know, and appreciative for those of you that stuck around. Yeah, so, you know, moving on forward, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on hip-hop every week in Logic. For the foreseeable future, I'm not going to put a date on it. I'm not going to put a limit on it. But we'll, you know, from week to week be letting you know and updating you. So for those of you that joined us for the first time, I'm Louis Beck. This was The Logic Show. And I'm an instructor at 343 Labs in New York City. And we are a music production school. And we do in-person and online classes. Now, of course, we're not doing in-person classes because, you know, the world is insane right now. But we are really hoping that soon we're going to be able to start doing that, you know, health and safety permitting. Now, with all that being said, I definitely have to jump. If you dig the content from today or from other times and you've tuned in before, please, please, please subscribe and spread the word. You know, we are a pretty new school. We've only been around for about 2 years. But, you know, we've been growing at a really rapid pace, and we're just so committed to trying to bring great content and educational material to, you know, more people. So the more people you can let know, it'll be really awesome and helpful. Anyway, yeah, I got to run, but this has been super real.
Alright, what's going on, everybody? This is 343 Labs. We're just going to give it a few minutes. We're going to be starting our online feedback sessions. Hopefully, if this is your first time joining us, we're basically going to be setting up, we have a platform for you to share your music and to get some feedback from me. So let's just give it a minute and see. Once we got some folks in here, you can submit your tracks. We got conversations in the chat room, so feel free to ask questions. My name is Atropolis Adam Partridge. I'm an instructor, certified Ableton trainer here at 343 Labs, teaching online and hopefully soon back at the physical school. So yeah, make sure to get your tracks however you want to share it with us, whether it's private SoundCloud or however you want to share it. Submit your tracks to us, and we're going to take a listen. And yeah, so please feel free to submit your tracks. And I'm trying to get the stream right now, our restream chat on my end. For those of you, for the chance we have viewers in the chat room, I just want to let you know, waiting for it to load. I'm not seeing the chat loading. Just to give you guys, let's see where I'm at. Trying to see what we can do to get our chat going. So I'm here. I'm just chatting with our 343 team, just checking on where everyone's at, making sure we're all together and everyone can hear me. So just give me a minute. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Okay, great. Yes, Scott, how you doing, man? So I got the SoundCloud. Excuse me, I'm looking over here. So yeah, you can paste the SoundCloud link here. If it's private, I think we'll be able to crack it. So yeah, just paste it. Paste it here. Yes. Who else we got? I see Scott Benson. Thanks for joining us, Scott. So yeah, let's get you loaded up whenever you're ready to share. And for some reason, I don't see. Hey guys, we're all here. We're waiting. Basically, just waiting for everybody to log in. I see we got 5 people logged in. Vincent, we're just waiting for you, man. So whatever you got, and whoever else is with us, please don't be shy. This is the place to get some feedback. I think getting feedback is incredibly important. Sometimes a hard aspect, depending on your dynamic, your friends, your family. Who do you have a trusted ear? So hopefully you guys can get some advice here that can help finish or push you to the next steps for whatever it is that you're working on. Hey, what's good, Nathan Kelly? Excuse me. Good to see you, man. Congratulations. We've got Nathan Kelly, former student, turned to an awesome producer who is now releasing on some labels and has releases coming out. So really great. Thanks for joining us, Nathan. Congratulations on all the hard work you've been putting in. And yeah, guys, so I'll just be looking down at my phone. This is the best way for me to keep track and see what's going on. So, all right, just waiting for some submissions. And for those of you who are joining, my name is Adam Atropolis. I'm an instructor here at 343 Labs. So if you guys are looking to get some Ableton Live production help, I am your guy. Yeah. Let's drop it, huh? Can you send us a link? Send us a link and I will pop it open. Whatever platform you want to share, I'm going to pull it up on my computer, on my browser. Alright guys, so again, this is a feedback live stream, and I apologize for those who have caught this information already. We're here to listen to some music and give our feedback to whatever questions you have, whatever areas of the track you're looking for, mixing, sound design, arrangement, what to do. And I believe Nathan Kelly is going to be submitting his track that he just got released, and yeah, it's awesome. This is a track that he just got signed on a label and it's getting pushed. And of the roster of this label, I don't remember it off the top of my head, he is charting in the top 10 with the artist on his label. Okay. Hey Scott, I'm reading. Okay, not sure what the link is not showing. Sent twice. Alright, interesting. Not sure, maybe. That could be possible. I'm trying to think. Thomas on the 343 Lab, is there anywhere we can, maybe Scott can email us a link? Hey Scott, do you want to email me the link to Atropolis? I'm going to write it right now. So email me Atropolis at 343labs.com. Alright. So Vincent, that might be the best, Scott, my bad. That might be the best way to get me that SoundCloud link. So let me go to my 343, and that's for everyone that's in this chat. Especially if you don't, I'll have the link if you're worried about it, any type of protection. We'll keep everything safe. And let me just get into my 343 Labs email. Why is this? There we go. Here we are. Okay, awesome. Great. We figured out a system. We are communicating. I am chatting to you guys and reading your text. This is really cool. The future is here. All right, so looking forward to getting some sound out here so you guys can stop listening to me talk. So I am just waiting for some emails. Atropolis at 343.com is the best way to send whatever link, whatever music, and it's going to be a first come, first serve. We're going to listen to the entire track. If you're submitting your track, you have specific questions, include them in the chat, include them in the email, open up the discussion. If you don't have any specific questions, you just want to, see what we think, that's fine as well. All right, I'm going to refresh my email, see what we got. Oh, here's the chat finally. Okay, boom. Uh-oh. Let's see, I got an email. Did you send it to, who did you send it to? You sent it to my email. I see it on my phone first, but I don't see it over here. There it is. Boom. Spotify. Awesome. All right. Moment of truth. I'm just going to switch back here. Oops, here we go. Let's get back on this. Let's get back on to our Ecamm Live. Alright, so I just got to do a little sound juggle. There's going to be a little bit of delay. We might miss like a snippet of the intro, but just to get the audio so we can all hear it together, I got to start it here and then flip here. So give me 1 second, guys. Oop. Ah. Alright, hold on. Already have an account. Yay. Alright. So, can you just open it up in my account? Yes. Alright, here it is. Okay, interesting. Our audio is acting a bit strange. Let's see, over here. Alright, interestingly enough, having a little bit of an interesting dropout, and I apologize. There we go. Hey, interesting. Okay, here we go. So, boom. Alright, let's do this. So I'm going to hit play. I'm going to flip the screen, and then that's when the audio is going to cut in. This is the track. We got a single from Nathan Kelly, track Super. And I'm going to hit play. Awesome. Nice, 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 nice. It's really cool. I mean, this is a bit more. I'm trying to get back onto the chat. Give me a second, guys. Just want to be present with everybody, and I just see the chat here. Scott, I see that you sent it as well. So let's just talk about this track. I mean, first off, I just want to say it's great. It sounds amazing, man. And as the teacher, as your teacher that got to see you first step into this game, really just brand new to it. So that's the awesome thing, folks. For those of you who joined us in this listening experience, and we just listened to Nathan Kelly's track, Super, that was put out on Glitter Line Records for 2020. You know, what a year to put some music out. So Nathan joined us at 343 a few years ago, and has been putting his blood, sweat, and tears into his Ableton mixing, production, sound design, everything, to the point where he was able to now get signed and get his music out there. So let's talk about the track. I think the track sounds great in terms of the arrangement. Curious about the vocals in terms of who is that, what was that, who was collaborating with that. I really enjoyed the vocals and how they were woven throughout the track, and the sound design. For me, I'm familiar with your music, and what is awesome about what you've done is, and this is really important, one of I think the hardest things of being an artist is getting caught up in like what's happening, what's hip, what your favorite artist is, and the music that you're making, and creating something that's unique, that has a unique sound that's like, okay, this is, in this case, Nathan Kelly, and opposed to just sounding like somebody else or something else that you like, you know, recreating something exactly to sound like an artist and not having your voice. So for me, this song, one of the strengths, the biggest strengths of this song is it has, in my experience, listening to your music and seeing you progress over time, you have a distinct sound, and that distinct sound, you always have these like really cool, playful synths that have this like repetitive, kind of arpeggiated melodic vibe, and you have that in the beginning and kind of woven through where it's the instrumental sections. It's a really cool synth. I really like the sound design. The mix wise, it's good. The mix is good. Like, you can hear the kick. It hits you. Could it be better? It could be a little better. You know, where it could be, it's good. It is a strong mix. I do want to put that there. It is a strong mix. I would want to try it out. I do use these headphones as my reference. So in terms of just checking your music out, guys, if you're not doing this already, have some trusted products. You know, everyone asks me all the time. They're always like, "Oh, what headphones?" These are Bose noise canceling headphones, right? People always think they got to get some kind of like studio grade. I mean, these aren't cheap headphones, but people always think they got to get something like some brand that's like more assimilated with like pro audio equipment. Work with what you have. Get familiar with what you have. So I know these headphones. I know what happens to these headphones, what I hear here, and how it's going to come out in my speakers. I think the mix, and I know you're doing these things, Nathan, so maybe just a little bit more calming, a little bit more carving out across the board on the lows, maybe low mids, I think are just a tad bit much. And it's not too much, it's not too muddy, it's not too bassy. I just think a little bit more cutting around those areas could be nice for the overall mix. So other than that, I think, you know, you got it, it's out, it's pressed, this thing's doing well. I think it's a great track, and I think you should be pretty excited about it. If anyone wants to, yeah, the mix, here we go, sorry, mixing is tough, man. Mixing for me at a certain point in my production journey sometimes would take longer than the track itself, until I really dedicated past like 4 years is straight to mixing and my studies in mixing, which, you know, now my mixing time has been reduced, but mixing is hard. So I just want you to know it's a good mix, Nathan. I'm not saying it's not a good mix. What's great about it, you do have everything's where it should be. The kick is strong, the vocals cut through. It's just, yeah, a minor feedback. Cut those mids. Oh, we got Vinny. All right, okay, so let's move on. Let's move onward. Give me, there might be a little bit of a lag, so let's check it out. I'm going to, here, let's flip this stuff real quick so you guys see what I'm doing. So, yep, this is the track we just listened to, and for those of you who are just joining us, this is a feedback session. You can email your tracks to atropolis@343labs.com. You can see that email in this chat. Just scroll up. We just listened to Nathan Kelly, Super, his track that this was released on Glitter Line Records. So we're gonna now move over and check out Scott. Well, okay, all right. I did say, well, all right, Victor, you're up in there. Scott was up in this chat. We are gonna hit Scott because Scott's been trying to submit for a minute, and then Victor, you're up, and then Vincent, Vinny, and it's you, bro. All right. So listening feedback session. I'm Atropolis. Here we go. Let me flip it real quick to my face. I'm gonna hit play. Nice. All right. Nice, man. Let's see. Scott, if you got anything specific, yeah, that was super chill vibes. I'm with you on that, Vinny. I definitely have some things I want to contribute. I also you know, if there's anything, Scott, that you want to ask us or anyone when you guys are sharing your tracks. For the meantime, I'll just get straight into it. So Vinny, overall, I think the arrangement was really nice. You had some really great sounds, all the different textures and instruments. You had quite a lot going on. My feedback is some of the voicings. One where I started to hear it, I was trying to take notes. That's why the screen got a little glitched out. I felt like around 118 and also onward, it's either your releases, like the lengths of the different note. You have like, I didn't count it, but you have a few different layers happening. And I feel like the layers, the synths that you have, we have what's called like an Adsr envelope. If you want to chime in, Scott, do you know what I'm, like, if you know how to control your amplitude envelope, basically ask me if you do. I could also just pop it up. Well, it might be a little crazy. I don't know what software you're using, but essentially, I felt like the tails on your synths, as you're going up, you had like a lot of kind of arpeggiated runs in a way. You kind of had these, what's it called? Like following these patterns. What's it called? The way you're singing, like in a round, where like the melodies will kind of follow each other, one beat behind each other. So basically those voicings started to pile up a little bit, and I felt like they kind of had a little tonal clashing. So that's something you might want to look into, is making some of those melodic runs of those different instruments to be just maybe a little bit tighter. That would be one suggestion. It could actually just also be the voicings that you're using, but I felt there were some moments where the tones of the different voices were clashing. Okay. Another thing is your use of reverb, I think, could calm down a little bit. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. Just calm down the overall reverb. I think that would just help. That also might help. Just kind of, there was just a lot of smearing happening with the sound. So that's my, I guess, constructive feedback in terms of areas I think you could. Not, you know, if you're emotionally done with this track, like, move on to the next track. You finished it, man. It sounds great. You got from point A to point B. The arrangement, which is like the bigger picture, right? All your different sections, they flowed really well. All your thematic ideas were developed really well. The transitions and things like that. So you keep the movement going really well. It's just these constructive things that, again, I don't know where you are with this track. If you want to go in and make those changes, great. If not, you know, these are things to think about for your next production. And these are also things for everyone to think about. Reverb, tails, you know, your dry, wet on your reverb, your decay time on your reverb, the feedback on your delays, anything time-based effects. Time-based effects is like reverb and delays. We love reverb. Reverb can make a sound, a really boring sound amazing, and then we just like, oh, that sounds great, let's keep on going and going. So cut your tails on your reverbs, because when you have all this big reverb, it starts to kind of, you kind of get lost in the mix. So that's where I'm at with that. Really dig the drums, man. Curious, Scott, you can, I don't know how much delay we have between my questions and when you hear it and then when you write it. Now this is a personal thing, you know, the drums are nice. The drums are definitely, you know, playing a secondary role. The drums are present. I can feel the drums, and the drums can be exactly where they are, according to taste. Okay, so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the drums. I am letting you know that if you want, there is room to make the drums a little bit more, hit a little bit harder if you want. There is a little bit of room to make the drums hit a little bit harder if you want. But I'm letting you know, stylistically, mix-wise, in terms of also the music of the ambient, that is probably where the drums should be. You know, they're really nice and soothing and kind of just keeping this nice repetitive pattern going that drives the track. So I'm letting you know the mix-wise, the drums are good. For the style of music, it's where they should be. For the chance you're curious about it, you do have room to push it a little bit. Okay, so I am going to move to the next track. Before I do that, I just want to say hello again. I know some of you have been with us since the beginning. I just want to introduce myself for those of you who have joined us. My name is Atropolis. Adam. I'm a teacher here at 343 Labs. I'm a certified Ableton Live instructor. And be sure to check our live streams out. We have a lot of different shows going on, different topics, a lot of free content every day, whether it's Theory Thursdays or Techno Tuesdays. If you want to learn and catch some free knowledge, in this case we're doing feedback sessions where you can submit and email your tracks to atropolis@343labs.com. So I'm basically going to take a listen and give you guys some feedback. For our courses, make sure to check out 343labs.com if you want to really step it up and step into a more, one-on-one environment with your teacher, with other classmates beyond our live streams. Be sure to check out our programs on 343labs.com. All right, so again, this is a feedback session. I'm super psyched. That was Scott Vincent, everybody. Check him out on SoundCloud. We had Nathan Kelly on Spotify. So if you guys are digging these tracks, support these artists, support the community. That's everything we got. So let's switch it up. Let me go to my screens. Got some little audio delay. So boom. Oh, my bad. Here we go. There we go. My bad. You guys weren't seeing that. So Scott Vincent on the decks. Rising, really nice ambient track. Thank you, Scott. Really enjoyed that. Hope that helped. Hey, that's my other email. Boom. All right, Vitor, how you doing? All right. Okay, cool. So let me just pop the chat open. I always am letting, hey, what's up, FAB? Vinny, you're gonna get back in a minute. We're gonna be on you next. So I hope you're with us, Victor. Are you with us, Victor? If you're with us, let me know if you got anything specific you want to ask us about the track, and that goes for everybody in this chat. We're about to hit play on this. I gotta flip the screens, do some little dancing, just so you can hear the music that I'm about to play. So give me a second. There we are. All right, about to go into the club, people. 1 second. I just gotta get my fan on. Let's not keep on playing. Let's get back. Hey, 2. All right, give me 1 second. Just putting my fan on, guys. All right, awesome, man. Awesome track. Nice. Really got some great. Thank you, everybody who has been sharing CHDB. Right, we got All I Want. So really nice track, man. As always, I want to just ask, does anybody, does anyone have anything they want to ask CHDB? Do you have anything specific about this track? It sounds like a done deal to me. Okay, the arrangement for the style of the music, your forms, your transitions. I got some questions too. I'm just curious about the piano, the bass, you know, what's going on with these elements. Are you playing these things? Really nice sounds. The mix is really punchy, clean, vibey, groovy. So I actually don't have any critiques with this in terms of the movement. I think it's a well done production. Got some nice art going on this. I guess for me, I'm curious about how you're pushing it, man. You know, how you're getting this out into the world. Is this a private track? Is this something that you're pushing as it is? You know, try to get this thing out on all the platforms. Most about the mix. The mix was good, man. It was a really tight mix. You had a lot of things going on in terms of, like, you know, your bass, the drums, percussion, the vocals, the piano, and it was all very clean. It was actually a very good mix, very clean mix. There weren't any areas in there for this monitoring system, which for me is, you know, I felt like it's a mix that's going to translate very well. So I think you did a great job on the mix. So that's it, man. Yeah, CHDB. What's my question to you? I got no critiques or feedback because I think it's a done deal, man. The mix sounds good. The arrangement, sound design, the progressions, just the overall vibe. For me, it's just, you know, what's your plan getting this out there? Start thinking about those things. Maybe you already are. I'm releasing it with a repost. Okay, great. Yeah, you know, SoundCloud is awesome. I love SoundCloud. SoundCloud is that's where I started. SoundCloud is the only place, the only thing on there that we can just like share our music whenever we want, however we want. But now it's gotten really saturated, and it's tough to break through the noise, man. It's really tough to break through the noise. So what do you call it? Drop and pray on SoundCloud is a tough game, you know. So great, part of a 3-song EP, awesome. I mean, I guess the conversation is like SoundCloud, you know, right now you're gonna have to build up that SoundCloud community. We all got to start somewhere, right? We all start somewhere, so that's fine. I would suggest trying to branch out of SoundCloud somehow, aligning with a label. Where are you located? Like where's your community? Things are kind of crazy right now with COVID. You know, the whole like networking aspect of the music industry is completely on hold. This is just a conversation for everybody, and this is just something to be aware of, man. Like, unfortunately, you know, we have a heart to make the music, so that's the most important thing. But when it comes to the business of music, the music industry itself, what it means, okay, like music as a commodity, this is a very common statistic across the board. 75% business, 25% talent, you know. So it's hard pushing it. So try to get this stuff. Try to get on Spotify, man. Try to get on Spotify. You want to get into playlists, things like that. So best of luck to you, man. It's a really great track. I would say focus on you got nice imaging, you got nice packaging, you got nice branding. I would say try to just get it in the hands of some bloggers, some people, whatever EDM, deep house blogs, posts, YouTube channels, you know, people on Instagram, however you can push it. Yes. Do it up. All right, so we're gonna move onward. We're in the final. Let's see how we doing. All right, let's try to see how we're doing. Let's go and check the feed. I'm going to switch my computer real quick. Let's go over to my desktop. All right, great. All right, we got Vinny. And if we got any more submissions, for those of you who are joining us, as a feedback session. This might potentially be our last track. We'll see. If you want to try to sneak one in, there's a chance we might have time for one more. Atropolis at 343labs.com. Vinny Conte. Oh, got slammed, Vinny. Vinny is also a former student of mine who's tremendously talented and has been pushing and getting his music out there and doing some dope stuff. Vinny, the track is not working. So if you're with me, I don't know if Vinny's still with us. We got 10 folks in the chat. Vinny, I'm going to try. I don't think it's going to work again. Yeah. Okay, so Vinny, not happening, brother. So try to resend it. I'm hanging out. We got a little bit of an awkward silent pause. Atropolis at 343labs.com. Oh, the kid is coming in fast, everybody. Boom, with that email. Look at this. Awesome. Buy Softer 1.6. I'm assuming this is version 1.6, Vinny. All right, here we go. So we're gonna get a little bit of a silence. You gotta see my face up close and personal. Boom. I'm gonna hit play. Flip it.
Sold my soul to be a time. Toast this blood, it burns alive. I know what I can do. I know what I can say. I know what I am. That'll be the day. What would you like to talk? What would you like to take? Burn your love away. To give a happy day. What would you like to talk? What did you like to take? Burn your love away. To give a happy day. That'll be the day. That'll be the day. Know what I am through. That'll be the day. That'll be the day. That'll be the day. Know what I am through. That'll be the day. What would you like to talk? What did you like to take? Burn your love away. To give a happy day. What would you like to talk? What did you like to take? Burn your love away. To give a happy day.
Awesome. Awesome. Hold on, let me switch it. We're back here. And let's go back. And all right, everyone can hear me. We have Vinny on deck. Chai, we might Chai, it's awesome to see you in the chat, man. It's been a long time. We'll see. We might be able to squeeze you in, but I got Vinny on deck right now. Boy, Softer 1.6. Sounding great, man. I'm always been a fan of your work. Because it's just fresh. I love how you work with your voice and your productions, and you just get this like full band feel, just like jamming out. I really like the flow and all the different movements, all your different sections, the lyrics, the vocals. The first thing that stuck out to me, it's interesting because every time you brought it in, like the main hook of your vocals, it was really the first time where it's introduced. And again, like, you know, in the nature of this is the first impression, I want to listen to it one more time. And why I'm saying this is this might change. You know, listening is a very delicate process, and this is something to also be aware of when you're listening on your own, you know, depending where you are mentally with your thoughts, distractions or not distractions, or just staying focused. Sometimes, you know, listening, you can have a different reaction to something depending on how you're listening to it. So I would want to retest this, but the first time, right over here where I'm pointing, I'm not going to play because you're not going to hear it because I have to do this dance for the audio. But right in this, where the vocals kick in, there was a part of me that wanted that arrival to feel like more pronounced or more set up. And the reason I'm questioning whether or not I would feel that way is every time you came back and brought this section in about 2 or 3 more times, it worked really well. Maybe it's because of the intro into the first arrival. Like, I don't know. I felt like I wanted it just to hit and arrive a little bit stronger. Okay. But again, that's something I would want to re-listen to and just double check that, because it's more of an arrangement. It's more of an arrangement thing. Arrangement feedback can be a little bit harder to chase because arrangement's bigger picture stuff. And there's a lot of things that go on that can influence the way we hear a section. We really have to listen to maybe 16 bars prior to something changing to really understand it. Vocal wise, I would be curious, the vocal, in terms of the mix of the vocals, I do like the way they sit for the most part, but there's part of me, I don't know, there's part of me that would want to explore, I would have to try these things out. I would want to explore any aspects of any form of distortion somewhere in your voice. Some form of saturation or overdrive. If you already have those things, then fine, but there's something about your voice that I'd be curious to play around in the mid-range, around 1.8 hertz, around that area. I kind of want to see if I could get some, or maybe even the air frequency. There's something about your voice in terms of the mix, in terms of like the upper range, that I would want to explore with an EQ, maybe an overdrive with the band around 1.8 and up, or even, you know, going all the way up to 16 and above. I would be curious just to see if we can pop that voice. There are times where I feel like the voice feels a little muffled at times. So I've really enjoyed all the other elements in terms of the mix and how they were sitting and how it was hitting. The voice is an area that I would be curious to play with a little bit more in terms of its presence. I believe there's a little room to get a little bit more. You're redoing the vocals. I should have read that before I went it on for another minute. Okay, Vinny, other than that, it's super fresh track, man. I love what you're doing. Keep making it, keep pushing it. Hopefully soon enough you'll be able to get this stuff out into New York City venues live. All right, we're gonna do one more, folks. One more from my boy Chai, also a former student. I hope you're with us, Chai. He was with us our last summer program. Chai, where are you at these days? Where are you these days? We're gonna just check one more. If it's a track that exceeds 5 minutes, I might have to cut it. So, whoa, well, we might have to just, let's see, Chai, let's see. Oh, we gotta download this one, okay. Come on. This is so Google, if you're spying on this right now, I hate you, Google Drive. Google Drive is the worst. I hate Google Drive. Just gonna share that with everybody. All right, Chai. Hey, bro, where are you, man? You back home? You in the States? All right. Whoa. Wait. What is this? Huh. Okay. That's weird. What the heck, man? I'm just gonna play it like that. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna just. Oh, cool. We're already on here. All right. You're gonna see my face. Boom. Here we go. Got Chai. Chai. If this track is over, it's 4 minutes. All right. We're gonna just kind of. We might not be able to finish the whole track. All right, Chai. So let's just take a quick. right. Dope. Awesome, Chai. All right, we're gonna just go like a couple minutes over. So yeah, we're not gonna do any more feedback, but let's talk about this a little bit. So I just want everyone that may not know who Chai is. Chai is a student that came to our summer immersive program in New York City last year, and it's awesome because he also just came. He was my first student that summer that came in with no really prior knowledge and experience, and he's got friends in the scene in China that are out there doing dope things, and this is awesome. So this is a year I haven't seen or spoken to Chai since that time, which was last June, and Chai, or May, from 2019. And Chai, I gotta say, it's tremendous growth. Chai was getting his feet wet with his productions. You know, he was starting out like we all do, right? In the beginning, it's tough. It's a tough journey, and Chai was getting little ideas down, but nothing to this strength. So Chai, I gotta say, man, you really stepped it up. The drop, do you feel like the drop is lacking? Okay, sure. I do hear you. I didn't feel like it was lacking, honestly. I do feel like it does have a bounce, but do we always want? I do feel like you had a nice bouncy feel. Honestly, I didn't. It has a bounce to it. It has a you know, there is clarity with the drums that you have and the synth that you have. The only area that I felt it's actually an easy area was the, like, kind of around 1:30, the transition. There was some like transition where you kind of wipe the energy down. I felt that was a little wondrous and like could be arrived, set up a little bit better. But yeah, it was the track goes through. I think you have a nice arrival point. If you want to get some more like white noise or riser sounds in there might be room for it, but I didn't feel disappointed, and I don't know, I feel pretty excited. So that was the only section in the track where I felt a little like it's similar to the Vinny comment. Like I probably would have to re-listen to it to see how I felt on that section. But my first impression is around a minute and a half, where the energy drops. It felt like that could have been set up a little bit better. So yeah, and Nathan Kelly's also maybe feeling that way too. Mix-wise, it was solid. You know, it was a good mix. It was a good mix. It was balanced. Maybe this is very subtle. Maybe a little bit similar to Nathan. Maybe not as much cutting, but maybe a little bit around the mids. Just a little cutting. Maybe around a dB at most. Around the mids could be cut. Lower mids. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I am Atropolis. My name is Adam. I produce under the name of Atropolis, and I'm an instructor here at 343 Labs. I'm an Ableton Live Certified Trainer. We got so much free content. It's incredible. Every day you got something. This was our feedback sessions, which for me, I wish I had when I was making my tracks. This is a place where you can come, submit your music, get some feedback, hang out, connect with our community. Be sure to check out our other live streams through our Instagram, through YouTube, Facebook, all of that stuff. And be sure to go to 343.com if you want to, 343labs.com for our courses. If you want to sign up, we will eventually be getting back into our physical locations in our physical location in New York City. Just opened up a brand new spot in Berlin for those of you who are in Europe or maybe close to that city. That is actually popping up. So real pleasure, real awesome to see a lot of my former students here who are freaking killing it. Thank you guys. I'm so proud of you guys. Please keep on making that music. Best thing you can do is just make the music as much as you can. So that's a wrap for today. Thanks for hanging out. This is Atropolis 343 Labs. Be sure to check us out at 343labs.com and on our Instagram for all our information, knowledge, courses, and stuff like that.